Hi there, welcome to Group 25's debate on how information technology is making countries more democratic. Before we get into the meat of our discussion, we thought it would be best to define the main terminology of our debate. So what is democracy? Well, democracy can be defined as a system of government by the whole population or all the eligible members of a state, typically through elected representatives. To simplify this definition, democracy can be literally translated to power to the people. Throughout this presentation, we will demonstrate how information technology involving internet, social media, and numerous other channels have caused countries to become more democratic. There are 5 main characteristics that are said to be key to democracy. The Interparliamentary Union has determined these characteristics to be the following: representation, accessibility, transparency, efficiency, and accountability. Now we will explore how each of these characteristics are applied to information technology through the use of examples on how technology facilitates democracy. Let us first look at representation. Representation within democracy refers to a socially and politically diverse embodiment of the people whilst ensuring equality amongst them. There are 2 major areas where representation is important: representation of the political body and representation of the people. Social media and information technology have allowed for new methods of campaigning where political parties are now able to better represent themselves to the public. Political parties can better illustrate what they stand for, hence voters are able to make a more informed decision regarding their votes. New communication channels have allowed for easier voting, more powerful petitions, and the ability for organizations to poll vast populations to get a better picture of what the people's needs are. Therefore, elected politicians can represent the people better. A good example of easier voting is the upgrade from casting your vote by pen, paper, and inked thumbprints to touchscreen machines. Social media allows for a massive collection and distribution of ideas. Twitter, for example, helps instantaneously communicate political decisions to millions of people around the world. The response received can have significant large impacts. For a more specific example, in Quebec, there was a public uproar on Twitter due to a bill that targeted religious minorities. This led to various petitions, live online discussions, and productive progress in protecting the rights of the people. Another example of how technology has affected representation within democracy is the impact of e-polling. E-polls have the potential to make the voting process more transparent and secure, as well as reaching out to a wider range of voters that better represent the public. Looking at Estonia, we can see that the percentage of e-votes casted in 2005 compared to 2011 has risen a total of 22.3%. This leads into our next characteristic: accessibility. Accessibility hinges around our ability to involve the public in all aspects of the government. The major effect that information technology has made on countries is the ability to break down the original barriers that initially limited public involvement. By original barriers, we are referring to location, time, and culture. Information technology has diminished the major issue of location in the sense that it has eased communication across the country and/or between continents. With the use of high-speed video and audio feeds, parliaments can better connect to the people. Time has been a massive barrier, as laws and bills could be passed before public opinion could be considered. Information technology enables the instantaneous distribution and response to and from the public. Culture has also played a major issue in accessibility. In culturally diverse countries, information technology enables multiple languages to be facilitated. This posed a problem to minorities before. Some examples of the improved accessibility of parliaments to the public include e-parliament, live streaming of Parliament meetings, and e-voting. E-Parliament is a non-profit organization that links together the democratic members of Parliament and the public into a single forum. This allows for open discussions of issues and equal contributions. Live streaming of Parliament meetings has enabled more accessibility for governments to stream their chambers and Senate meetings. Lastly, e-voting allows people to vote from any location with internet access. As a country's web coverage expands, accessibility to voting will increase because people are able to vote from their homes, workplaces, or libraries at their convenience. Transparency. A transparent government grants its nation access to information regarding its operations through media and publication. Information technology has improved transparency in two ways. One, by allowing governments to publish information online for public consumption, and two, by allowing the public access to massive sets of data online to draw their own conclusions. For example, the public is allowed access to the budgets and expenses of parliaments that have been published online. Information technology has also facilitated the free flow of information. Though some countries are trying to prevent this flow through censorship, like in China, or separation, like in North Korea, it is impossible to completely control technology and the free flow of information that comes with it. Information technology has evolved from a one-directional stream like television to a two-directional stream like the internet, where people can respond and challenge what they see. Some examples of information technology affecting transparency in democracy can be seen in Ukraine. Social media was used to expose the corruption in Ukraine, sparking a public pressure which led to a change in government. Through these channels, Ukraine received international exposure when the world superpowers had a clearer picture of the current situation. Another example is how WikiLeaks has held governments accountable for their actions and has pressured them to be more transparent about their operations, such as presenting data on how the NSA was spying on its citizens. Efficiency. The efficiency of public services is also enabled by information technology. For example, people can easily fill out a form online to apply for healthcare instead of having to wait in a line in government offices or having to wait for the form to get mailed in. Information technology allows easy access to political information. For example, when a new policy is created, the public will be notified by the news through television networks. They will also be able to see this information easily via the internet. With the public aware of the actions of the government, the enforcement of policies and laws will be improved. Examples on how information technology has increased efficiency within a democratic nation include easy access to data, the efficient distribution of resources, and the capability of incorporating the public opinion into decision-making. The ability to create a database of survey data and statistics allow governments to efficiently distribute available resources. Governments are able to use statistics from public surveys to target the people in need. For example, safe injection sites in Vancouver have been proven to be a success in reducing the spread of HIV/AIDS. The idea of the safe injection sites and the information on how it is implemented can be studied and put into use, for example, in Toronto. This concept was originally proven in Europe, where information technology has enabled several communication methods to transfer this knowledge. The public opinion can be collected by conducting electronic polls when making decisions on public projects or deciding on the allocation of a budget. This will make the decision-making process more democratic by incorporating public opinion and by reducing the misrepresentation of needs. For example, Metrolinx can do surveys on the residents of the Greater Toronto Area to find out the public opinion on the construction of the light rail transit and an extension to the subway. Finally, let us look at accountability. Accountability refers to the members of any organization being liable to the people they represent. This can be in relation to performance and integrity. Information technology allows for the public to respond to politicians and their leaders regarding their actions. This can drive a public response to situations that demand accountability. Social media facilitates this by allowing the organization of petitions, protests, and collective responses to the performance and integrity of their politicians. As mentioned under transparency, information technology has made access to information that much easier. This can hold politicians responsible for their actions and words, which are public and recorded for further review. This also leads to exposure and free access to information that makes the improper and inappropriate actions of politicians easier to find and allows the public to act against it. Examples of how information technology has made accountability more prevalent in a democratic nation are numerous. Specifically, Ukraine has used social media to hold its president responsible for its finances and corruption. In Canada, information technology has facilitated the public response to scandals in Senate. Another example is when protesters in Egypt used Facebook to organize a massive movement to hold their government accountable to its people. Examples can also come from the transparency and accessibility of information. WikiLeaks and Edward Snowden have forced the US government to re-examine transparency and allowed the public to voice its opinion on matters that were previously hidden by the government. In conclusion, we have seen the beneficial impact of information technology on the 5 main characteristics of democracy: representation, accessibility, transparency, efficiency, and accountability. Now, taking into consideration some of the examples we have mentioned, such as the political disruptions in Ukraine and Egypt, or technological changes in the GTA, could you imagine how different our lives would be? Without being aware of our world's issues or having a say on how we live our lives? Thank you for your time.